Almost good afternoon everybody. I will not take much time. How to begin? I don't know. My madam was asking me, 5 paper தான் இல்ல மேடம் 6 பேப்பர் சொன்னேன். இல்ல 5 பேப்பர் இல்ல மேடம் கீனோட அட்ரஸ் எங்களுக்கு. So madam has kick-started the proceedings in the right direction, and it's a great kick-start for this wonderful seminar in the right direction with the valuable inputs and a lot of information, and it is certain that we will achieve the goal, madam, because we have started the goal, kick-starting, and we will reach the goal post definitely, there is no doubt at all. As you said that what are the lot of knowledge, that's what Tirumala says, Adikshita says. Vilakkinai ketti veliye arimin, vilakkin munde vedanai maanum. You go, just leave the light. That is what the scriptures also say. Amasoma jyotirgamaya, lead us from the darkness to the light. The light, you have lit the lamp, literally you have lit the lamp. In fact, this morning, our Santa Madam was asking, Puttoda Gunda, illa idhukku nariya velakku inge irukku appdinu sollitom. Arivu velakku jyoti tejas pononge same way. So this is what Aranagiranatha says, but very simple way. Very simply, very aptly he says, Mala Jala Suvasa Sanchalam Adalyan. Mala Jala Suvasam related to body. So this Mala Jala Suvasam Sanchalam, something disturbance happens. Then what does it affect? You are rightly quoted about the mental balance. He says, Mala Jala Suvasa Sanchalam Adalyan Madinalekadaman Undanadutana. So the balance of the mental. That is what our Siddhas, our ancient seers, they have seen this system of life in this way. The same way I will not go much detail. The same way you said, as you already said, Udambinai Ulipindirne, Udampukulla Ururukande, Udambinai Anokurundere. That is the first basis, because this is the means. Even the scripture says, Sariravathyam Kalu Dharmasadhanam. If it is not there, you cannot do anything. So in this way, and Sukamayu, that is what the Niramayaha we say, Amihi is disease. Yadgatraha, the symbol it says, Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha, Sarve Santu Niramayaha, the 4 parts you say, Sarve Bhadrani Pasyantu, of the, so what is the end product? Mahakasthi Dukhabha. If you achieve this, what is there? Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. So, and I take this opportunity, this is a brief session. In fact, very busy madam. In fact, when we have approached, she saw the content note and she said immediately, she was very much thoughtful. In fact, madam, she said, okay, I will come. And she gave the first date. In fact, we have opted for the 2 days. And we thank you very much for your lot of inputs, madam. It is our pleasure, in fact. And in fact, succeeding the seminar, we have started the academic the director position, and we have got Pancharatnas. Pancharatnas, there is a small saying in Sanskrit, Prithvivyam Trini Ratnani, Jalam Annam Subhashitam. There are only 3 Ratnas, valuable gems are there. Prithvivyam Trini Ratnani, Jalam, without water we cannot take. Annam, food of course, and Subhashitam, well sayings. So the organized the 5 great distinguished speakers, and I take very briefly, I take this opportunity to thank Dr. Manickam is there in advance, and Dr. Bharat Narendra is here, Dr. Jayaraman is here for yoga, and Asan Padmayogi Shanmugam sir is here, and Sivaraman sir will be joining, and I thank all the delegates who have come here to have registered in advance and with a lot of interest. Please enjoy all these sessions, because it is academic sessions. Just accommodate yourselves. So you have got a lot of inputs. So you can just today keep a neglect of your. Of course, we are providing everything. But the secret the thing and the food and other things, you can devote a lot of time here. And I thank each and everyone to make this inaugural session a grand one. Thank you. Let's join. Immediately after we have got a tea break. Just exactly for 7 minutes, because before 11:55 we will join here. Already we need some time, because that is the reason only 5 papers. We want to give a lot of time to the speakers. We have to learn a lot from them. So I thank our madam for this great opportunity. When she said she is the basis, as even yesterday I told them, source of everything. So when we conceive this, she gives us the direction. So path, she makes the path. You can do like this, etc. So that inputs very valuable. That is how we can harmonize the things. And I thank each and everyone. Please join us for the tea, and exactly by 11:55 we here. Exactly by 11:55 we will start the first session. First session will be Dr. Manickam is here already. So he will be talking we'll begin with Genesis and significance of Ayurveda. Please do join. Thank you everyone. Thank you.
The editorial book, International Journal of Clinical and Developmental Anatomy, Research, International Journal of Endocrinology and Diabetes, Morphometry, and currently he is guiding 4 PhD students. His accomplishments are obtained copyright for literary work entitled Essay and Short Notes on Upper Limb and Exclusive Examination Approach, and obtained copyright for authority literary work entitled Effect of Narration on the Expression of PDX1 and FOXM1 transcription factors in beta cells of streptozotocane introduced diabetic rats. He also won several awards and recognitions. Dr. Ranita Papisman Best Research Paper Award at Capcom T on 9 March 2018 for the oral presentation entitled Effect of Norepinephrine on Pancreatic Transcription Factor PDX1 in the Diabetic-Induced Rats. Dr. M. Cooper Merit Award for obtaining first rank in the MS Anatomy course from the Association of Anatomists, Tamil Nadu. With these few words, I welcome Dr. S. Manickam to present this paper.
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I am Dr. Manickam. I am going to talk on genesis and significance of Ayurveda. So, being the first speaker, I will keep the topic very lighter. ஒரு கதை தான் சொல்ல போகிறேன். ஆயுர்வேதம் எப்படி வந்துச்சுங்கிற கதை தான் சொல்ல போகிறேன். So I will make it at the most interesting and lighter because it's a mixed audience. I can see the students, school students. From that, there are also research scholars. So I will try to keep you engaged. So already the keynote speaker, Dr. Sudha Srihan, has made my work easier. She has already introduced the Indian system of knowledge. So I am going to speak on Ayurveda. The word Ayurveda contains 2 parts, Ayu and Veda. Madam has already expounded about the word Ayu, and Veda means the knowledge of the science. So it has been defined as Ayurvedayati iti Ayurveda, which gives the knowledge of life is Ayurveda. So it encompasses the entire corpus of medical wisdom which was available in our country, the Indian subcontinent. This medical knowledge is not new to mankind. Whenever the mankind was existed, from such time onwards, we have some knowledge about health, the medicine. So that is being called as the folk medicine or the traditional medicine, which is being systematized, made into a system and we call them as medical systems, and one such system is Ayurveda. And each medical system is having the influence of the society where it existed and the cultural practices that were prevalent at that time. So this Ayurveda, the knowledge of Ayus, is being dealt very detailed in Ayurvedic treatises. So why we should read Ayurveda? The textbooks tells the reason for that also. So we need not, most of the textbooks, whatever the Ayurvedic textbooks which are available today, they say that it is for the Manda Buddhi. We are all Manda Buddhis. We are unable to remember so many things. So they have codified things and made easier for us. So they say why we should study Ayurveda also. Ayu Kamyamanena Dharmartha Sukha Sadhanam Ayurveda Upadesheshu Videya Paramadara. Why we should listen to the teachings of Ayurveda? One who wants to live, right? One who wants to live and attain the Purusharthas. You know, there are 4 Purusharthas: Dharma, Artha, Kama and Moksha. So if you want to attain these Purusharthas, you have to listen to the teachings of Ayurveda. And what is Ayur? They have said it is a science about Ayurveda. What is Ayur? What is life? That is also defined in Ayurveda. They say that Sharira, Indriya, Sattva, Atma Samyoga, Dari, Jividam, Nityagascha, Anubandhascha, Paryayehi, Ayur Uchyate. Ayur, life, means it's a conglomeration, it's a combination of Shariram, the body, Indriyam, the sense organs, Sattvam, the mind, and Atma, the soul. So it not only tells about the physical body, not about the mental, it also includes the spiritual aspect. So the conglomeration, the union of body, sense organs, mind and the Atma, the soul, is called as Ayur, which is called by different synonymous terms like Jividam, Dari, Nityagara and Anubandha. So what are the prime objectives? What is the objective of Ayurveda? It tells there are 2 objectives. Prayojanam chasya, swastasya, swastya rakshanam, aturasya, vikara prashanam. Swastha, one who is living in a healthy state. We have to preserve this state of well-being. That's the prime objective, the preventive aspect of Ayurveda. Then comes the Aturasya Vikara Prashanam. One who is diseased will be having suffering. We have to reduce the suffering. So that comes the curative aspect. So initially the emphasis is on preventive aspect. We have to prevent the human being from falling sick. If he falls sick, then we can treat him by Ayurveda. So these are the 2 primary objectives, and it also defines what is the state of well-being. Samadosha, Sama Agnischa, Sama Dhatu Malakriya, Prasanna Atmendriya Manana, Swastha Ityabhidhiyate. One who have a right combination of the humors, the Vata, Pitta and Kapha, Samadosha, Sama have a good digestive power, so the digestion is good. Samadhatu Malakriya, the tissues in the bodies are functioning optimally, and Malakriya, the excretory function are done properly, and he has a pleasant state of mind, sense organs and the spiritual aspect. He is called as a swastha. So Ayurveda doesn't restrict itself the well-being to its physical nature, right? So the first part of the thing, samadosha, samadhi, samadhatu, manakriya, is bodily functions. So it doesn't restrict the health to state of physical well-being. It also includes the mental, prasanna manana, and also spiritual. So madam has already told in the morning, so I am not going to the details, which is very close and still more inclusive than the definition of health defined by WHO. It shares only a state of complete physical, mental and social well-being. Right? It doesn't include the spiritual aspect, but Ayurveda encompasses the spiritual aspect too for the state of well-being. So coming to the philosophical background, see, this is a system of medicine and it is not irrational one, right? It has a profound basis philosophically and it takes lot of inputs from the darshanas. Hope some of you might be aware of these Shat darshanas. They are the paths to get the valid knowledge, and this Ayurveda is greatly influenced by two systems of darshanas, the Sankhya and the Nyaya darshana. And all these concepts from these darshanas are adopted and they are incorporated with necessary changes in the Ayurvedic treatises. So I am not going to bore you about this philosophical background. Just I will touch upon how they have been included in Ayurveda and we will go to the story of the genesis of Ayurveda. So the Ayurveda is greatly influenced by Sankhya and Nyaya darshana. From Sankhya darshana, we have taken the pramanas. Hope you know, you have the Shabda pramana, Upamanam, then the Aptopadesham. So these pramanas are being taken from these darshanas which are used for the diagnosis of diseases, right? Whatever is being got from the teachers, right? The Aptopadesham. So whatever is done from told by the seeds, we take that, and whatever we see with the sensual organs, Pratyaksha pramana, we use all this for the treatment, diagnosis and treatment of diseases. And you know the Sankhya Darshana tells about the evolution and there are 25 tattvas. So I have given the evolution of tattvas here. We are not going to the details, but this is the basis for the Ayurveda, right? So everything in the world are made of 5 bhutas, Panchabhutas, and our body is also made of Panchabhuta, and the Panchabhutas are functionally classified as the Vata, Pitta and Kapha. So all this comes from this evolution, the Pancha Tanmatras and the Pancha Mahabhutas. So it has, Ayurveda has adopted and incorporated all these principles for its development. And it has used the Parinamavada of Sankhya, that is the quality of Prakriti will be present till the end products. So that is being used in the explanation of tissue transformation. So whatever the food we eat, it becomes the Rasadhatu, the tissue. From there it becomes the Raktam. From there it becomes the Mamsam or the muscle tissue, and so on and so forth. So it is being transformed from one product to the other and it retains the quality. So all these are taken up from the Sankhya Darshana. And from the Vaisheshika Darshana, it has taken up the 6 Padarthas: Dravya, Guna, Karma, Samanya, Vishesha and Samavaya. But these have a special meaning in Ayurveda. All these are used for treatment purposes. We are not talking about the physical nature. It uses them for the treatment purposes. And it also takes up the atomic theory. So the Ayurveda tells about the Paramanus, the smaller, minutest particles which are making up the body tissues. So it tells about the cell theory, which is being taken up from the Vaisheshika. And it also mentions about the gunas, various properties. All these are used for treatment purposes. And we take the Pilupakavada, which tells about the chemical transformation, which is used in the transformation of food material into the body elements. So when we take ahara, it is being transformed by the Agni or the digestive power, and it is being transformed into the metabolic products. So that is being taken up from the Vaisheshika theory. And we have also borrowed certain principles from the Nyaya Darshana as well as Yoga Darshana. The Yoga Darshana is used for the treatment of psychosomatic disorders. So we come to the branches of Ayurveda. Right? So classically it is called Ashtanga Ayurveda. It is made up of 8 subdivisions. Each one is called a Tantram, and they are Kaya Chikitsa, Sharya Chikitsa, Urdhvangam, which refers to the ENT. Sharyam, you know, it's surgery. Kaya Chikitsa refers to the medical, general medicine. And Urdhvangam refers to the upper part of the body, so ENT and ophthalmology. And then you have the Jara, the old age, geriatrics, and then Vrisha, which can be compared to the reproductive medicine. And you also have the Agada Tantram, the toxicology, and you have one more thing called the Kaumara Vrityam for pediatrics and the obstetrics. So that comes under the Bala Chikitsa or the Kaumara Vrityam. And in the modern day, it has been still more developed, and there are 14 branches. We are not going to the details, it's there in this slide. We will go to the genesis of Ayurveda. So how Ayurveda came into existence. Here comes the story. So we can divide it into pre-Vedic period, Vedic period, Samhita Kala, and the Sangraha period. Pre-Vedic period. So we all know Vedas are the repository of knowledge. So before that, whatever was existent, we are unaware. So by our knowledge, we understand that how things would have developed. Since the mankind came into existence, there are diseases. So the greatest fear is about the death. So man feared about the death, and next to that he feared about the illnesses. So he was trying to treat the diseases or avoid those diseases. So that led to the knowledge of medicine, and slowly the knowledge was gathered and it became a system. So it can be called as the folk medicine or the traditional medicine, which later systematized and came as the systems of medicines, which is being codified and called as the Ayurveda. So we come to the next period, Vedic period. So whatever information available in the Vedas. So we all know Veda tells about various things. It also tells about the diseases and the medicine. And the Rudra is called the first physician. Pratamo Daivyo Vishak. And all the medical verses, the hymns, suttas, come under the framework of Abhicharikani and Trityam Pariharani. So at that time, they were not very clear about what caused the diseases, and they were having fear of those things. So they thought it was from unknown source. So they were thinking about how to get rid of it, and they were offering puja, bali, homam, all those things for the gods to get rid of the disease. So it was a faith-based medicine. So they were thinking that it was from unknown source. So while seeking the blessing of the god to get rid of those diseases. And the highlights, what was mentioned in the Vedas, the name of various diseases are mentioned, right? And the treatments, it is being called as the Adharvani Chikitsa, Angirasi Chikitsa, Devi Chikitsa, Manushi Chikitsa. The Manushi Chikitsa deals with the treatment of diseases with the plants and other products. So there are many drugs which are mentioned and their properties are also mentioned in the Vedas. One of the shaka of the Atharva Veda is called the Charana Vaidya. It tells about the things of medical practitioners, and this is the one which is going to continue as a system of practitioners who are going to move from one place to other and treat the patients and teach the medical system. So they are called the Charakas, and later it is called the one who was very famous and wrote a treatise called Charaka Samhita belongs to this Charana Vaidya. So it is being mentioned in the Vedic period itself. And Darinda Bhatta, a commentator on the Kaushika Sutra, narrates two kinds of diseases and its treatment. The diseases which are produced by the food and the food practices, what they had at that time, it should be treated with Ayurveda. And the diseases which come from the Purva Janma Papa, or the deeds which they did in the previous birth, which leads to some diseases in the present birth, that should be dealt with Atharva Veda. So he has clearly delineated the physical diseases which come out of food and food related practices should be treated by Ayurveda. This Ayurveda is considered as the fifth Veda. We all know there are four Vedas, Rig, Yajur, Sama and Atharva. This is considered as fifth Veda. According to Mahabharata, this is considered as, the Ayurveda is considered as the Upaveda of the Atharva Veda. And the Sushruta Samhita, which is a text on Ayurveda, considers Ayurveda as the Upa Angam of Atharva Veda. So we all consider this Ayurveda as a Vedic origin to make it the eternal source of knowledge. So we think that it is coming from since a very long time and it is eternal, and we have to give much importance. So coming to the third part, the Arsha period or the Samhita period. This is the main period in which the Ayurveda developed phenomenally, and lot of textbooks were written in this time, which is available to us in the current forms. Right? And all these textbooks are initially written in a sutra form. They are called as tantras. We told about the 8 divisions of Ayurveda, Ashtanga Ayurveda. All the time, the divisions are written as tantras. They are written in the form of sutra. So you might be aware of what is a sutra. It is Alpaksharam, Asandiddham, Saravat Vishwadovukam, Astobam, Anavadyam cha, Sutra, Sutra Vido Vidu, which is written in a very concise form, free from flaws, and it is having a very large scope. So it is written in a short form. So you might have heard about the Yoga Sutram. They are written in a very concise format, which can be interpreted according to the level of knowledge of the student. So everything can be interpreted in their own way, and these are traditionally transmitted orally, like Vedas. So they were taught from a teacher to his student, and the student becomes a teacher, he teaches to his students. So it was an oral tradition. Later, the people become Mandabuddhi. They were having less knowledge, so they cannot retain all this. So the practice of writing them in a book form started, and there comes this Samhita period. So every work on medicine were being written as Samhitas, and their Samhitas can be equated as encyclopedia and a compendium. They are all secondary works. Actually, the teacher taught the students, and the students have written them as books, the treatises. So all these are secondary works. So there are some additions, modifications, revisions and advancements were made, and this also paid for some misinterpretations also, because it was written by somebody else and not the teacher. And these are phenomenal. The growth was phenomenal during this period, and slowly from the Vedic period, which was faith-based, Daiva Vipashrayam, slowly the face of Ayurveda changed to Yukti Vipashrayam, reason-based. They were able to find out the reason for the disease, the cause for the disease, and how it can be treated by knowing the principles. So from Daiva Vipashrayam, faith-based, it changed to Yukti Vipashrayam or reason-based. So this is the story which is depicted in all the Ayurvedic Samhitas, how the Ayurveda came down to the rishis or the human beings. So it is being said that Ayurveda first was taught by Brahma, and Brahma taught it to Daksha Prajapati. From Daksha Prajapati, the Ashwini Kumaras, the physicians of the gods, learned it. From them Indra learned the Ayurveda. So all this is in the Devaloka. From Indra, the two humans who are the rishis learned it. They are Divodasa Dhanvantari and Bharadwaja. And our keynote speaker has already explained you this. One is a school of medicine which belongs to the Bharadwaja and his disciples. And the other one is the school of surgery, the Shushruta, Divodasa Dhanvantari and his disciples, Shushruta and others, and it belongs to the school of surgery. So we are going to see this very briefly. So Brahma is the mythical originator of all the knowledge. In Ayurveda it is said that he recalled Ayurveda. That means before him already the knowledge was existent, and he only remembered it and preached it to his disciple. And he taught it to Daksha Prajapati. He was the first one to divide the Ayurveda into 8 sections, and each one was called as the Tantra, the Ashtanga Ayurveda. He was the first to introduce the horn of the animals, leeches and sharp instruments for treatment purposes. Daksha Prajapati, he is the disciple of Brahma. And we know the Daksha, he was the one who did the yaga without giving the Avirvagam to the Shiva, and Shiva got angry and beheaded him. And he was given a goat's head by the Ashwini Kumaras. So all these are mythological things. He was the second one to get the knowledge of Ayurveda from Brahma, and he taught the Ayurveda to the Ashwini Kumaras. So the Ashwini Kumaras are the twin brothers, the physicians of gods. They are called the Dasra and Nasatya. They are the divine physicians, and there are 50 suttas in Rig Veda telling about their skills in therapeutics and surgery. And they were ascribed with the treatment, the following treatments offered by them. They restored the youth of Chavana Maharishi. So you know the story. Chavana was very old and he was given a medicine so that he got back his youthfulness. And they cured the leprosy of Gosha. They were instrumental in regaining the consciousness of Vandana, and they helped with the delivery of Vamadeva, and they were also doing operations, fitting prosthesis, iron leg for the Vishapala, and they treated the cataract of Kanva. So all this tells them they were not only physicians, they were also surgeons. They were doing some surgeries, and these two twins taught Indra about the Ayurveda. And these two twins were very compassionate. They were also treating humans. So whenever the humans called them, they were very compassionate to come down and treat them. And there are 40 formulations ascribed to them, like Lashuna Gridam, Jwarahara Gridam, Haridra Churna. All these are being ascribed to Ashwini brothers. Then comes our Indra, the Lord of Gods. He was the son of Kashyapa, and he is an expert in mental illnesses. Like our Ashwini Kumaras, they were also treating the Devas. So they restored the eyesight of Parapraja and helped a person called Shravana to walk and cured the skin disease of Apala. So this is the Indra who is going to give the knowledge of Ayurveda to the humans. So till this is in the Devaloka, the Devas were kind enough to give the knowledge to the mortals. So it was taught to the Bharadwaja and Dhanvantri. And two medicines are ascribed to him, Aindri Rasayana and Haridaki Devi. These are the medicines which are told by Indra. Then comes our great sea, Bharadwaja. See, there was a meeting, assembly of sages, and they were discussing how to get rid of illnesses which were affecting the humans. So at that time itself there was a conference. So they were talking about how to get rid of the diseases which were afflicting humans and affecting the tapas, upavasam and the adhyayana which they were doing. So the sages were having a discussion, and the Bharadwaja volunteered, I will find a solution. So he sat in a penance and got to know the knowledge is residing with Indra. So he did tapas and got the knowledge from Indra. So he was the one to bring the knowledge from the Devas to the humans, and he taught the other sages. And one drug is ascribed to him, the Phalagridam is ascribed to Bharadwaja. His period is calculated as the 9th century BC. Now from Bharadwaja, the school of medicine and school of surgery gets delineated. So the Atreya Sampradaya is a school of physicians led by the Atreya and his disciples. And there is a school of surgery which was led by Dhanvantri. So first we start with the Atreya Sampradaya, the Punarvasu Atreya. He was the disciple of Bharadwaja. He learned the Ayurveda from Bharadwaja and he taught it to his 6 disciples. Charaka, I think we have already seen Charapani, Bela, Harita. There are 6 disciples. He taught to them, and they wrote the treatises on their own. The Atreya taught them, and he was also a physician in the King Nagnajit. And the oldest medical book is called Atreya Samhita. It's not available at present, and it contains 46,500 verses. So the disciples of Atreya wrote separate treatises, and they presented it before their teacher for approval, and all were very knowledgeable. So all the disciples' books were approved, and each one was called by their own name, like Charaka Samhita, Harita Samhita, Bela Samhita. So we come to the very important text which is available to us, the Charaka Samhita, the treatise on general medicine. It is written by a famous sage called Agni. He is a disciple of Atreya, the prime disciple of Atreya, and his book was very famous. So it was accepted first and it was in practice for a very long time. Later, Charaka, he was only a redactor. He made some changes and presented it to his disciples. His redaction was a masterpiece, so it was acclaimed by his name itself as Charaka Samhita. This Charaka Samhita is a very famous text, is available till today, and it's an important textbook on general medicine. We are not going to the details of the treatment, all those things mentioned in Charaka Samhita. I will just highlight few things which are very unique in Charaka Samhita. It tells about the scientific discussions which are taking place at that time. So at that time itself they had the conferences and they were doing some discussions on topics like which organ evolved first, which is the prime dosha, like Vata, Pitta, Kapha, which one is the first one. All those things were being discussed and everyone had an opportunity to express their views, and some were refuted and some were accepted, and finally the coordinator of this conference or the meeting will sum up and tell the important features of the meeting. So that's called Tat Vidya Sambhasha, which was happening at the time. And there are 36 Tantra Yuktis which are mentioned in Charaka Samhita, which helps to read a text, scientific text. How to read a scientific text. All those things are given in Charaka Samhita. Because of it was famous, it was being translated in various other languages like Persian, Arabian and Tibetan languages. And the whatever which is being told in Charaka Samhita in a later date is being redacted and written as a small book by a sage called Alwarpet. There are two people, senior and junior. They belong to Sindh region and they wrote two books called Ashtanga Sangraham and Ashtanga Hridayam. There are two books. So the Ashtanga Hridayam is very famous because it is written in a poem. So it was in a poetic thing and it was very famous, so it was very well received by the people. And it mentions about the usage of mercury for the first time. So it's a recent text which includes other chemical substances also. Initially, the medicines which are available in nature, like the plant products and the animal products were used. Later, the chemical substances were also started using. So he mentions about the use of mercury, and there was a slight decline in the surgical procedures. So medicine was given a better status, and touching a dead body or operating a patient, all these things were looked down. So slowly there was a decline in the surgical procedures in his period. So his period is calculated to be somewhere around 5th to 6th century AD. Now we come to the school of surgery. It is from the Dhanvantari. He is called the incarnation of Vishnu. So we don't know whether there was a real person by this name, but there should be someone who was very good at surgery. Because of his skill, he was equated with God. So he was called as the incarnation of Vishnu. And it is told that he reborn as a Divodasa in the city of Kasi. So he is the one who taught all the surgical school of thought to his disciples. So the works which are ascribed to Dhanvantari are Chikitsa Tattva Vijnanam, all those things, Roga Nidanam, Chikitsa Sara Sangram, so many works are ascribed to him. And there are so many drugs which are medicines which are ascribed that was told by Dhanvantari. So Sushruta, he is the famous author who wrote a treatise called Sushruta Samhita. It's a compendium on surgical methods. So he was a disciple of Dhanvantari and he wrote a book called Sushruta Samhita, which is not available now. It is redacted by Nagarjuna and that is what is available at present. It is having a very simple language compared to Charaka Samhita, and it was discussing or explaining the topics very lucid manner with more philosophical emphasis than Charaka. The Sushruta is called the father of surgery and mentioned about 300 surgical procedures in his book. He is mentioned about the plastic surgery and his method of doing the plastic surgery for the nose, rhinoplasty, is very famous, and he is the first author who tells about the anatomy of the eye, its development and its diseases, which is dealt in very great detail. He also talks about the marmas, the vital spots. Being a surgeon, he talks about these vital spots so that it should be avoided during surgery. Later, this was developed as a separate science for treatment as a marma vijnana, and being very famous surgical treatise, it was translated into Arabic at the time. His period is equated to 600 BC, and this tells about the Sushruta's technique of the rhinoplasty. So this was published in Gentleman's Magazine in 1794. And these are the instruments, some of the instruments which are explained in Sushruta Samhita, which is present in the museum, London Science Museum. So we have seen so many books written by the rishis. Among them, these three books, the Charaka Samhita, Sushruta Samhita and Ashtanga Hridaya, are considered as the Brihatrayi, the three bigger books, the bigger compendiums which is available till date. And the next speaker will be talking about the importance of these three books. We are not going to the details. There are other Samhitas like Veda Samhita and Kashyapa Samhita. There are also similar ones, but because they were not that popular, it was being pushed to oblivion. So most of them are not available as present, and only very few manuscripts are available, which the present ones have been printed out. Right? So these are the other textbooks which are written by the rishis on each and every anga of Ayurveda, and most of them are not available at present. Then comes the Sangraha period. So they started compiling whatever knowledge it is available, and they started reducing the philosophical presuppositions and paid attention on the practical application. So depending on the individual speciality, the textbooks were started to be written. Like a textbook on Rasha Shastram, the chemical thing, and Dravya Gunam, pharmacopoeia, Nidanam, the etiology and pathogenesis, Nadi Parisha, finding the pulse, Panchakarma, treatment procedures, Agada toxicology, Vajikarnam, the rejuvenative medicine. So each speciality, they started collecting the materials from the textbooks which are available at the time and wrote a special ones depending on their own speciality. So at this period, certain books were written. Among them, these three are the important ones are called the Laghutrayi. We saw the Brihatrayi, the bigger ones. These three are the smaller ones for the Laghutrayi. Madhavakara wrote a book on etiology. It's called Madhava Nidana. He tells categorically this is for the less intellectual people because they were unable to gain knowledge from the Brihatrayis. So he has compiled all those things for the lesser intellectual people, and it's called the Madhava Nidana. And there was another book called Sharangadara which tells about the procedures of preparing medicines, and it was the one which introduced Akipena and Akkarakara. So it's a later text whatever prevailing at the time started included in these books. And there is a description about oxygen in this textbook. It is being referred to as Vishnu Padamritam. And there is another text called Bhava Mishra. It is a book on plants and it describes various herbs which were seen in the India and from foreign places. And it introduced the Parasika Vacha and Pudina for the first time. And it introduced the new diseases like syphilis, measles and enuresis. And it is an important milestone in this period. And there is a special branch which developed very later in the period. So that's called the Rasa Shastra. So they started using metals and minerals for therapy. Initially it was used to transmutate the base metal into a noble metal. They were trying to do some chemical changes to change a base metal like iron into gold. Later they used the technique and used those things for treating the diseases and prolonging the life. So the Nagarjuna introduced the elements of alchemy and he wrote a book called Rasa Ratnakaram, which is not available at present. There is a book called Rasa Ratna Samuchayam, which tells about the alchemical processes which is available to us at present. And there are two principles involved in that. The Rasa and the Gandhaka. Rasa refers to the mercury and Gandhakam the sulfur. So these two are the two principles, the male and the female principles, which are used to prepare medicines. So various chemicals and biological processing methods are described in the Rasa Shastra textbooks. So there are two seats of learning in ancient India. One is at the banks of Ganga, the Banaras, which was the one which was teaching the surgical school of medicine. The Dhanvantari, Sushruta, etc. were present there and they were teaching the surgical treatments. And one on the banks of Jhelum river for the Takshashila. Presently it is present in Pakistan. It was having the physicians like Atreya, Charaka who are teaching the medical system, the general medicine. So Ayurveda has undergone various influences in the history. Initially it was the Hindu land, so it was well practiced and well understood. Then came the Mughal roots, the medieval period. So they introduced their own medicine and there was an interaction between those two. And the later one, the modern one, it was influenced by the British rule. So the traditional learning suffered a setback and they were alienated from the traditional belief. So we were slowly moving away from our traditional belief and we lost the faith in our system. And slowly the modern medicine was introduced. So the recent times, all the systems up to 19th century, all the medical systems were called as traditional systems. There was nothing new. They were practiced time immemorial in each civilization and each one was called by its own name. It was based on the real experiences and observation and infusion of the knowledgeable persons. But later, there was a decline. The foreign rule, the decline in the usage of Sanskrit language. So we have given the status of classical language to Sanskrit and we started moving away from Sanskrit. So we become less familiar with the textbooks. The interpretations become difficult. Madam has already told you, when you interpret a word differently, the entire thing changes. So it leads to misunderstanding and various problems. And the older school of medicine had very less objective teaching methods. It was a traditional form, so they were teaching by orally. So all those things led to decline in the study of Ayurveda. And slowly the modern medicine gained importance. And we find it very interesting because it is based on experiment and it has a statistical validation. And as the technology evolved, it becomes very advanced and it has a reductionistic approach. It doesn't see human as a whole, it sees you as a part. They treat you in parts. You got a gastroenterologist, he treats only the digestive system. If you have any other problem, you have to see another specialist. So they have a reductionistic approach. They fail to see our human body as a whole. So the present status, Ayurveda has lost the prime status but never uprooted from the people of India. During the freedom struggle, there was a resurgence of Ayurveda and the patronage continued after independence. And at present, we have a separate ministry for Ayush, which was started 9 November 2014. And we have a Central Council of Indian Medicine to promote all the indigenous system of medicine. There are reputed institutes carrying out teaching and research in Ayurveda, and we have a separate body for research in Ayurveda, Central Council of Research in Ayurvedic Sciences. So we come to the last part of lecture, how it is relevant in the modern day. Right? So we have seen it is approaching human as a whole. Ayur, it is a conglomeration of body, mind, senses and soul. So it see human as a whole, and its objective still holds good during this 21st century also. Swastasya swasthya rakshanam, aturasya vikara prashanam. First is prime objective is preventing the diseases. Next is treating the diseases. So Ayurveda mentions as causes of diseases as kala artha karmana yoga hina mithya atimatraka samyak yogascha vigneyo roga arogyeka karanam. It mentions that you get diseases when you have overindulgence or wrong indulgence or less indulgence in what? In season, time. So when you are exposing yourself to very hot weather or very cold weather, or you are not exposing yourself to sun, hina, excessive indulgence or less indulgence or wrong indulgence. Similarly, artha, the sense organs. When you use your sense organs very excessively, or you don't use it at all, or you use it wrongly. We are now glued to our mobile phones. We are excessively using the eyesight. We are hearing music or we are using earbuds. 24 hours we are having the Bluetooth devices along with us. So we are excessively using our sense organs. Similarly, action, all our bodily mental action can be less, more or wrong. All this are the causes of diseases. So this holds good even today. So we are seeing the diseases are on the rise because of our wrong activities. So that's being highlighted by Ayurveda. I am not going to the treatment part of it. Ayurveda can prevent diseases. Prevention is better than cure. So if we can prevent, that itself is a very great achievement. So for this, Ayurveda advocates lot of regimens which can be done on a daily basis or on a seasonal basis. So daily basis, starting from getting up from the bed, brushing, taking bath, applying oil, all those things are dealt in detail, which helps us to stay healthy. And there are seasonal regimen. What should be done on a particular season? So in the olden days, you might have experienced, they would have asked you to take the castor oil for purgation. So you have to do it regularly to get rid of diseases which occur during a change of season. So what all things should be practiced during a particular season is being advocated by Ayurveda, so that we can stay away from diseases. And there are 3 supports for positive health: the foods, sleep and regulated sex. So that's being very much important in the present day, because these 3 are the much misused things in our life. We eat junk food, fast food and sleep we keep away for late nights, some of them go for a night shift. So we are abusing our body, which is a cause for diseases, and Ayurveda helps us to prevent all this and tells us how we should lead a healthy life. And Ayurveda mentions about the communicable diseases also. So I am not going to the details. At present, we have a epidemic of the COVID. So Ayurveda tells about the communicable diseases, how they spread and how it should be avoided. Finally, the take-home message is who can live a healthy life. One who takes wholesome food and does wholesome activity, who introspects his action, who lives unattached, who is generous, and who looks everyone equally, and who is truthful and having a nature of forgiving nature, and who delights the service of virtual men will remain free from illnesses. That is being explained by this sloka, Nityam Hita Ahara Vihara Sevi Samikshakari Vishayeshu Asaktaha Data Samaha Satyaparaha Kshamama Aptopasevi Chabhavati Arogaka. So if we lead a life in this way, we can be free from diseases. This is not to glorify the past and not to eulogize the Ayurvedic medicine, but this is to introduce Ayurveda to the public at large, and we should feel proud that we have a very good scientific heritage and we are standing on the shoulders of our ancestors, and we should have an approach towards Ayurveda with an open mind for the well-being of the mankind. And these are my references. Thanks for your patience.
Thank you, sir. I request Dr. Shanmugam to honor the speaker.
We have the references. ப்ரொஜெக்ட் அவங்க மூஞ்சில் அடிக்குது பாருங்க.